Very much, Cahir, and I welcome the Minister here today. We know each other all right from Offaly, and I suppose from the Galway side of things too. And like the Minister, who is a farmer herself, you know, I also come from a farming background, and I understand, you know, I've grown up on a farm, worked on a farm, got the green cert, but by God, I suppose the amount of information and research that's been done in the last, you know, 10 to 20 years that shows us the impact in terms of the loss of wildlife and habitats, it is shocking. The importance of maintaining sort of wildlife and increasing what we have is crucial, and I suppose I'd like to point out to my mind that I do believe the local authorities have a crucial role here in doing that. My background, how I got involved actually in public representation, I mentioned it a little bit earlier today, but it was to do with the environmental impact to the development of a waste transfer station in the Banlaslow area, and the impact was to low-lying floodplains, the impact to the waterways, and we had to come together as a community group to challenge the local authority, to be able to make sure that the Habitats Directive was upheld. So I really do appreciate, as it's been mentioned here in the motion brought before us, that the unfavourable status of protected natural habitats is under threat. So I suppose I would ask the Minister to consider extra resources for very much underfunded, under-resourced, perhaps environmental sections within each of the local authorities, perhaps for future legislation. Very much so that individuals and groups and community groups are working together to actually protect the environment that they live in. And that somehow, you know, we need to make sure that that's not the case, that they're supported in doing that it's not a case that individuals have to come together to fight against local authorities or groups that have planning that's just not favourable to protecting environment. I suppose the couple of other things that I just wanted to mention were along the idea of the wildlife and protecting the wildlife, and again that is very important. There's an SCA for the River Suck, or an SPA, pardon, for the River Suck area, and again there's under the Wildlife and the Birds Directive, you know, it covers a number of birds there, both the Hooper swan, and you know, we just see that, you know, when we were fighting our case, you know, the marsh fritillary butterfly, as you've mentioned, Senator Martin, that is the only European protected butterfly. And that is in Ireland, and it's in Banlaslow, and it's actually exactly where those low-lying floodplains are. The actual food plant, the devil's bit scabious, is there for that butterfly. And how do we protect the devil's bit scabious that is in these, bogland, unique bogland areas that we have? But I also want to pay tribute to the groups that are doing great work. We have the Living Bog, we have, that are protecting a lot of our raised bogs, like in Mount Bellew, and there's a number in Roscommon as well. And I suppose that those groups, again, are, you know, doing the best to protect what is there, and I suppose to ensure that people can enjoy the resources and amenities on our doorstep. And it is about, as well as about making sure that our regulations and our biodiversity plans are there, as I think as was mentioned earlier, it is about bringing our community groups with us. We need to make sure that people can see the amenities and resources, the wildlife habitats that are there, to ensure that we're able to maintain them, keep them for long term, be it walkways, cycleways, greenways, through these areas in a protected way that protect the species, but also make sure that people are aware of what is so valuable about keeping what is there. As somebody who comes from a farming background, I take on board very much Senator Lombard's points about the importance of the generational aspect for farmers, bringing farmers with us. I come from an area, I suppose, that's very much, you would have suckler farmers and you would have a lot of small farms. The importance of off-farm income is crucial. A lot of this comes from ecotourism as well. But I was very pleased to see in a recent Teagasc presentation, also in relation to the less technology, the low emissions, slurry, that there is so much work being done. And farmers are leading on this, leading on the technologies that are there to ensure that we're able to meet the requirements that we have at a European level. So I suppose I would just like the Minister to take into account the work that farmers are doing in leading the charge, and that also, I suppose, that we would look to really funding our local authorities to ensure that the areas that we currently have are protected and that we are able to increase potentially the wildlife habitats in publicly owned lands, I think would be crucial. And we're going through it ourselves right now, and it just shows that individuals have to fight hard in community groups. Thanks very much.